Hello and welcome to this webinar brought to you by the team at Vasion. I'm Janine Douglas, and before we dive into today's webinar, which I promise will give you an exciting behind-the-scenes look into how some of our customers are mastering print management, I'd like to just remind you of a few things. If you do have any questions regarding the webcast for our host or for our customers, you can click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of the player and submit your question. Our team will respond back to you directly via email after the webinar. We've also added in a few additional materials around our solution for you to dive into. These are available in the Attachments tab in the BrightTalk console. And finally, we'll provide details at the end of the webinar on how you can start your free 30-day trial with PrinterLogic. I'll hand over shortly to John and Pete at Vasion, who will do quick intros with our guest customers from Tomago Aluminium, TNA Solutions, and Madill Motor Group, all based in the Asia-Pacific region. They will then dive into a quick overview of PrinterLogic, who we are, and some of the customer feedback we're receiving around how our solutions are eliminating major business pains when it comes to print management. It's then time to get some real feedback from our customers on the panel today and a chance for you to hear about their unique cloud print transformation journeys, how they navigated key challenges, and some success metrics. Lastly, we'll wrap up with how you can start leveling up your print management today and with a free 30-day trial of the software. And with that, I'll hand over to John.
Thanks, Janine. By way of introduction, my name is John Gibbs, and I'm joined today by Peter Bloom, who's in our Australia office. A real quick introduction here. I work in the Philippines, and I'm responsible for the work that we do in Southeast Asia and also India. And Peter primarily focuses on the Australia, New Zealand territory, and he's joined today by a couple of our great customers.
Cool. Thanks, John. Great to be here and great to talk about PrinterLogic with everyone. So, as John mentioned, I focus on the Australia New Zealand sector. Tony and Dennis are customers that I've worked with. They've been PrinterLogic customers for a period of time. So, thanks for their time. And Dennis, if you want to introduce yourself first, and then Tony, I'll get you guys to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourselves and what the company does.
Yeah, no worries. My name is Dennis Moncrief. I'm the IT superintendent here at Tomago Aluminium. So Tomago Aluminium is Australia's largest primary aluminium smelter. And here, as the IT superintendent, I'm responsible for all IT infrastructure for the entire plant, for the entire operation. It is a large operation, around 10 square kilometres. And it... while I'm not responsible for every application, I am responsible for the infrastructure that it runs on.
G'day, my name's Tony Casey. I'm the IT manager for the Madill Motor Group. We're an automotive retailer selling Toyotas, Mazdas, MGs and Suzukis. I look after all the IT operations for the group across various 4 different sites across the Sunshine Coast and Gympie in Queensland, Australia. Prior to that, I worked with the product at a larger company called the Motorama Group. So this is my second bite of the cherry with the PrinterLogic product.
Well, great. We really appreciate both of you joining us today. So before we get started with the actual customer discussion, just a little bit of information about who we are for those that are unfamiliar with PrinterLogic or Vasion. So we are a privately held company that was founded in 2001. We are based in the United States, in the state of Utah, which is in the western half of the United States. As you can see, we have a lot of global customers. We do a lot of work with a lot of different customers, and I'll share a little bit later the types of customers and who we work with. You'll see some information on that. We have over 12,000 global customers, as you can see, and we manage well over 2 million printers, which was, I want to say, the end of 2023 was that number, and I think that's significantly growth from then. One of the things that Pete's going to talk about here is the customer retention rate, but just spending a little bit of time on that before Pete jumps in. 95% customer retention rate is pretty much unheard of. Before joining the APAC team, I ran the customer success organization in North America, and typically, when looking at customer retention for a SaaS-based company, 80%, low 80s is the typical range that they shoot for. We retain our customers at 95%. And so Pete's going to talk a little bit about how our proof of concept and the ability for our customers to fully test our solution before they purchase it, how that helps with our customer retention and some of the other things there. We have almost 400 employees, and we have offices in the United States. We have an office in Germany. We have an office in the UK. And we have many employees scattered throughout the globe, including people in the Asia Pacific region in both Australia and New Zealand. We have people in Singapore. We have people in, obviously, the Philippines as well.
Cool. Thanks, John. Yeah, so as I mentioned, that retention rate's super high. So, Dennis and Tony, they've been customers for a while, and we're obviously going to, hear about their customer experience and why they like it. But yeah, that's a big thing with PrintLogic is, like, as John mentioned, everyone gets a free proof of concept, right? So, because it's serverless, it takes about a minute to create a SaaS instance, and then within about 30 minutes, we share some tips and tricks, and you got the whole thing set up. And we'll talk about that experience with Dennis and Tony today as well. Because it's hitless, right? We don't impact the environment as well. So very simple and straightforward to get that set up. And like I said, once everything you can build in that POC, which typically goes for about 30 days, if or when that customer chooses to go ahead, everything you've built in that POC is now your full production environment, right? So the post-sale stuff that we deal with is very light because all of our customers get to test the product for free in their environment, right? So again, very simple and straightforward as we transition across, and also from a migration perspective, very simple and straightforward. And again, we'll talk to Dennis and Tony about that migration process that they have there as well.
Well, great. Thanks, Pete. And so some of the reasons what our customers talk about our solution, we greatly reduce the time spent on print management. As you can see, some customers achieve up to between 90 and 100% efficiency there. We reduced the print-related help desk calls, so not so many calls to the help desk around printer-related issues. Our solution helps out with that, and our panel will talk about a little bit about that as well. Remote server infrastructure, because our product is really good at helping you eliminate that infrastructure. Our ability to be able to reduce that infrastructure and make the management of that environment easier is really what we focus on. And then, as you can see, we also help with printer downtime and reducing the consumables through some of our secure release functionality.
Awesome. Yeah. And one of the big things too is like sort of reducing all those help desk tickets, right? So as John mentioned, sort of getting rid of those print servers, things like that. So I actually used to be a customer of PrintLogic. So I worked at New South Wales Health. I was working there as a solutions architect before I joined PrintLogic about 5.5 years ago. And one of the big things about it is, how do we get rid of all those help desk tickets? Because basically we eliminate all those print servers. So we eliminate those single points of failure. Like you could even lose your internet, you can lose your WAN, you can still print, right? And that's one of the key strengths of PrintLogic is like, yes, it's cloud hosted, but we're not just putting a server in the cloud and calling that cloud printing. It's true serverless-based printing environment, right? So provided that local area network is up and running, everybody can still print, right? So from that ITB support perspective, you don't get that level 1 help desk ticket, somebody saying, I can't print. The nature of PrintLogic means that you can always print, even in case of those outages, like I mentioned, like an internet or a WAN outage to go through there.
Well, great. Thanks, Pete. And so, as you can see, also some statistics that we can share with you as well. Over 70% of our customers reduce printer downtime by 15% or more than 15%, which is great. You can see that we've reduced the amount people spend on printing. But the one I want to highlight here is the one at the end there. 20% of our customers reduced remote server infrastructure. So the fact that we eliminate print servers really helps be able to get rid of those points of management and those attack vectors, and print server is sometimes a vulnerability, and we help eliminate those as well. We have customers, very, very large global customers in some instances, that we've been able to eliminate hundreds of print servers in their environment, and you can imagine how much easier it is to manage their print environment when they don't have to worry about those print servers and worrying about a print server going down and people not being able to print. So what we're going to do now is we've given you a little bit of a preview about what we do and who we are. We're going to start our panel discussion now, and we're going to start, if it's okay, we're going to start with you today, Tony. Is that all right?
Not a problem at all.
Oh, wonderful. So, Tony, if you could, and maybe you could talk a little bit about what printing looked like prior to PrintLogic or Vasion in your environment, and give us an idea of maybe where some of the pain points were and why there was interest in your organization looking at our solution.
Okay, no worries, thanks. So initially, my first when I was with the previous role in the previous company, it was a much bigger operation, and we went through the transition to a modern workplace environment where we fully decided to lean into the Microsoft 365 architecture. Previously, we were a Gmail G Suite customer, but we had a lot of file and print server set up. So there was a lot of devices connected via print servers. And when we really wanted to reduce our footprint in our server environment, so we went through the process of going full M365, and we moved all of our files out of the traditional, D drive, F drive, H drives into Microsoft's product, and that then left a hole for the printing because we wanted to get rid of all those servers. And one of the partners we were working with at the time suggested Printologic and said how good it had been. So we needed a solution that we could deploy primarily because we went right into Microsoft. So we had a solution we could deploy out over Intune, which we've done. And in that environment, we had over 100 printers across probably 13 physical locations, and within those locations, probably 5 or 6 sub-departments. And then what really attracted us to the fact is we were getting people a lot more mobile, and the ability for the printers to automatically load depending on the IP addresses. So obviously we're in a typical environment with subnets and whatnot. So that meant that the deployment across that side of things made it very simple. And then when we moved into this, that company sort of broke away into the smaller one, and I took on the role here. What was a no-brainer? Because I'd already used the product, albeit a lot smaller scale. So here we've only got 15 or 16 printers across 4 sites, and probably 3 or 4 the sites within those. So you're probably looking at 1 printer in the department. But the ability for a user to walk around, our CEO is a good example for him to go into a site, be able to log on and have his printer there that in the local area, teamed up with a good naming convention. It's a no-brainer. The other thing too, which has just come up, we're just replacing printers, so we're rolling out new machines, and the ability for us just to change the drive in the cloud and have it automatically deploy. It's just, we change machines, we change brands of machines from Okies to Sharps across some of the printer fleet. It was seamless. No one batted an eyelid. So I'm a big advocate for the product. It's just simple, and I think a good telltale sign how good a company is how many times I've had to call your support desk, and I think in the last 2 years I haven't had to. So that's my journey so far.
Excellent, thanks, Tony. Yeah, look, there's a couple of things you sort of want to unpack there a little bit. Like, and as you mentioned, let's start with that last comment, the support side. Like, it really is like almost a touchless environment, right? We sort of do product appraisals with customers once every 12 months. We might jump on a call, and they'll quite often we say, well, Pete, I haven't logged into the admin portal in the last 6 months, right? Because you've got that Printologic agent, you bake that in your Golden into your SOE. Then, like I said, new starter on Monday, just give them a laptop. We know where you are. We can auto deploy those printers, or they can just self-install it through an end user portal as well, right? So makes it super easy in that. So there's no GPOs and scripts. And like Tony, remember, the previous place you had like a bunch of print servers, right? So
yeah.
So the ROI you would have got just by eliminating those print servers would have been pretty cool as well, right?
Oh, it's amazing, yeah. And just during that transition, like the thought of having to, how are we going to do it without this particular solution? There are other options were not cost effective. And, then it was going to be the point we're going to have to try and educate people to auto load their own printers. It's just no chance. It just makes things so much simple and easy for us.
Yeah, Tony, real quick. Again, that was great, the information you shared there. But just really curious too about some of the things we talked about earlier with regards to help desk calls and the ability for end users to be able to understand and be able to self-install printers or walk around and be able to do what they need to do. What's been your experience with the product from an end user perspective?
Well, how I said to you that your system was good, that I didn't have to call your support team. I haven't received a support call for printing in 12 months. So I think that's a good telltale sign. It just works. It just works. And traditionally, the automotive environment, the users we have aren't probably high-end technical. So you're probably looking at a lot of people. Some of them wouldn't have a computer at home. A lot of the guys are working in our teams here. And it just makes life simple. It's just simple for them. Like it just works. I don't know what else to say. It just works.
Mate, it's great. I love it. That's a good summary. And like yourself, Tony, so this is like the second time we've worked together and things like that. And we're getting a lot of customers in APAC. I mean, I sort of helped set up the base operations here about 5.5 years ago. And a lot of customers, as they kind of, exactly like Tony, that you sort of move roles, change companies and things like that. We're getting a lot of people, particularly in the last couple of years, where I go, yeah, look, I use Print Logic here, and they get into a new environment, a new infrastructure world. And they've got print pain points, right? So when print's one of those funny things, people kind of forget about it until the point it breaks, and then there's issues, and then it can get quite heated. So we talk to a lot of customers, just like Tony, as they move around, and it's just kind of word of mouth. And hey, you got a print problem? Yeah, talk to these guys at PrinterLogic. As you said, it does what it does on the tin, right? So which is kind of rare these days, and like the rollout is pretty simple and straightforward. So.
Well, yeah, Tony, thank you very much. Dennis, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. A similar question to where we started with Tony. We're really curious about what your environment looked like prior to PrinterLogic, whether or not you had print servers, if it was an unmanaged direct IP environment, and what was the driving force to look at our solution.
Yeah, look, we've been using PrinterLogic now for, I think, 3 to 4 years, and before we weren't in that journey to the modern workplace. We were still like fairly solidly an on-prem shop. We had some direct IP printing. We had some print servers. Tomago is a bit like a university campus, but just with production areas all connected through to each other. And back in the 2021 era, there was a lot of new workers that were doing remote working. So we were having a lot of challenges with that. Similar to Tony there with the some of the workforce being a little bit on the more basic side. We've got truck drivers and bricklayers here, so trying to educate them to be able to use it. And the other large one, I suppose, the fundamental difference here is we were extremely cyber security was a big focus for us, and so the inability for our end users to install their own printers without a help desk call, without administrative rights, was a massive burden. And really, the pain around Print Nightmare back then was massive for us. That was a huge wake up call that what we were doing, we weren't going to be able to continue to do. So we needed to look at something else. We'd also heavily become just an on-prem shop, so we'd recently returned our ERP from the cloud back onto the premises. It was that point in time where supply chains were problematic. Everything was sort of, the more that we could control, the more we knew that we could control that uptime, and with a 24/7 asset like an aluminium smelter, that's super important. So around that time, we looked into. I think it was Print Nightmare for my memory, sort of had sort of 2 phases. The one where they came out and they patched everything and they managed to get through, and then the second phase where it actually came out and broke and they just dropped support. So the in between the two for us, I had one of my engineers go and locate this product, and I suppose we then sort of tested what the box did say, and for us the box said a lot of really positive things and some things that we were I suppose a bit skeptical about, like the ability for it to run and exist and you continue to be able to print without the internet connection. That was important to us, for those end users to be able to install it, for the experience to sort of be the same no matter on which particular production segment they were. Even though you're moving through different security zones, the experience was the same. And we tested that out during, as you said, that really sort of simplistic month trial, soft sort of launch, and everything worked. It did everything that you said it would do, and for us, that really that was the kickoff of the rollout process. We saw a lot of value in what it was doing. We could see the value in the reduction of our help desk call, the reduction of my help desk team. Their time to install things, and especially for that new remote worker over a VPN problem that we were encountering, it took that off the. It just swept it aside. We no longer had to worry about printing and all of the different aspects of it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Yeah, so once Dennis experience a bit like what we do with a lot of customers. Again, it's what I did at New South Wales Health when I was a customer as well, right? We were working at Lithgow Hospital there, right? So this a couple of years ago, I think about 7 years ago, right? So obviously IT's changed a lot, but they had like a swamp pipe. They had about 5 gig going out to Lithgow out in the bush, like not the best internet pipe at the time. Like over 3 days, we took like 5 gig off, which just frees up for all those other applications that they ran in healthcare, right? And similar, like what Dennis was saying, like, we're getting rid of those print servers as well. But then the other cool thing too is like that proof of concept, like, and it's free as well, right? And you don't have to spin up infrastructure to make it happen. And see what we did, and we did this with Dennis and the team, is like, we jump on a call and, it happens every day. We talk to customers a little bit, skeptical, like, is this really going to do this thing? And typically we'll spin up the POC. And that takes, run that for about a week or two. Then oftentimes they'll kind of, after week 2, we'll extend it out to a business unit. By week 4, we've kind of got like a production instance running, for at least 1 or 2 sites and things like that, right? So before any money's exchanged, customers, exactly like Dennis and Tony, like, they know it's going to be a good fit. They know it works because it's working for them right now, right? So like I said, that back end change when they sign up, everything stays the same, right? So everything you build and test in that POC is staying the same. We kind of mentioned, Tony, like, yeah, sorry, Dennis.
That's right. It was very smooth, a very soft deployment, because it could live side by side with your existing infrastructure. Nothing had to change, and yet at the end of the journey, like, everything had changed. But for the end user, things had only improved.
No, that's great, Dennis. And just another question about particular hardware. Are you tied to a particular print manufacturer? Have you looked at hardware refreshes?
We've done a refresh during since we've had Printalogic, and I would second Tony's comments there around the actual. It was completely seamless compared to previous ones where I've been involved with printer changes and definitely brand changes, but even just driver updates that you need to do. They're extremely painful, and it just hasn't been anymore. It's a complete, Tony said no brainer. I've got non-event. It's just printers and they're a non-event for us anymore. Sometimes you might need to actually tell someone to click on the printer-looking icon to install the printer that's near them, and then there's a nice little map next to them, and that user education is complete at that point. They then just know, if I need a printer, I click on it, I click the one that I like, and we move on. And so I think as well, not only that pain for the IT staff of having to punch in the administrator password and direct people to the right one and to the right print server, but for the end users as well, it's that efficiency. I'm working in this different part of the business today. Click, printer, add, job done, print. Get on with the business of for us making aluminium.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like that end user experience is, it's key for us, right? And again, when I worked at New South Wales Health, I was doing some work there at Nepean Hospital, and I kind of showed the end user portal to a nurse unit manager. And she gave me a hug. I was like, okay, I'll take a hug for doing my job. But she was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, because normally I log a help desk ticket, it takes 3 days for them to action it. And by that stage, the doctors moved on and, it just didn't work, right? So that end user portal is super cool. And obviously those auto deployables, like you mentioned too, right? As you move around the organization, we know exactly where you are, and we can just push out those prints straight off the bat as well. So one thing I did want to mention too, like, Tony had a bunch of print servers there, which you got rid of those, but then she kind of mentioned just that security perspective too, right? So, we're getting rid of those things. So print nightmare and things like that, and all those other security vulnerabilities that have come out since, and there'll be more. You are reducing your security vector there, right, by eliminating infrastructure, right? So for future, threats and things like that as well, you're mitigating or minimizing part of that risk within your organization as well, which is super cool.
Yeah, well, at the time, we were actually looking at a reduction in our security posture, because we were going to need to give users, or at least some minimum access to be able to install the printers. But we not only did not need to do or cop that reduction in security, we've actually managed to further segment and further chunk down and further increase our security posture, just because of we can make changes and it's completely seamless to the end user. They don't even need to be aware of it.
Felipe, how are you today?
Hello, Dennis. How are you today?
Doing well. Really appreciate you joining us today. So really quick, before you implemented our solution, tell us a little bit about what was the driving factors to want to look at our solution, and what was the current environment like?
Sure. Look, I mean, I'm Philippe Larota, CIO for TNA Solutions in Australia. Uh, One of my strategies in the business since I joined about 2 years ago is actually trying to get our company a much more cloud-first approach, right? So, one of the TNA has about 17 offices globally. I mean, head offices in Sydney, but we got offices all across the world in Americas, Europe, say, APAC, and for me to drive my strategy to cloud first, I mean, I need to actually make sure I got everything across my sort of platforms and architecture, sort of solution architect and planning to put in place was to actually make sure I was able to actually do so. So one of the elements that was actually challenging for us was actually how the infrastructure was in each of the offices, and one of those was, for example, the printer server. So each of our sites, it was actually working as a mini office. We got anything between 20 to 50 people in each of those offices. And it basically just had their very own sort of a data center in that office, including domain controllers, printer servers, file servers, and so on and so forth. So for me to just start driving the organization a much more cloud-first environment, I needed to sort of see a way to trying to remove those elements that could actually block my strategy. Just for the studies, when I joined, I was actually dealing with about 15, 20 printer servers globally. And just obviously, if you see that, just trying to put that in perspective on support and administration, it was actually a really big task because every time I do some sort of refresh into any of those sites, and also governance, I mean, because it's very difficult to try to maintain the same governance across every single printer server and trying to manage anything between 3 to 5, 7 printers per site. So for us, actually, was a very, very sort of a big headache trying to just work into the strategy that I was trying to bring to the business. So that's what I started to sort of just look into solutions like a Printalogic. Happened to be that I knew Printalogic from previous organizations as well. You guys being sort of big into a company called Peloton. I don't know if you recall that in Americas. So that's where I came across that sort of a Printalogic. And I reached, I think one point last year, I reached Peter in sort of a common event, and also just trying to talk, and we did a proof of concept, and yeah, I was very surprised in how sort of efficient and sort of simple was to sort of just deploy the solution, and I was honestly very surprised how easy it was supposed to be, and something that was supposed to be taken as a POC, basically we took it as a pretty much full production to all our offices in probably less than a month.
Yeah, thanks, Philippe. Yeah, and that's one of the big things for us too, right? Like it's that sort of migration of that. What do you have now, and where do you want to get to, right? Like, because there's a few tricks we can do with that Printalogic agent, and we don't big bang the environment when it comes to migrations either, right? Like it's a staggered approach. I remember when we started, we kind of worked with yourself, the IT team, then we did one of the sites, and then we started rolling out other sites. So very similar to what Felipe was saying there as well. We've had other customers that migrate super quick. We've had a customer with like about 1,000 print queues. We got the whole thing done within a month, right? And again, when I worked at New South Wales Health there, we got about 5,000 doctors and nurses migrated in about a couple of months there without any help being raised, right? And so from that end user experience, there's no change, right? They just go file print, like that's it. The end users don't do anything different within Windows or Mac or Linux or Citrix or whatever the environments they're printing from. It's exactly that same user experience. And I think too for yourself, Felipe, as you mentioned, you had all those print servers out there, right? You had a stack of them. So obviously, like the ROI you would have got from that would have been pretty significant, along with like reducing that security posture, like we were just talking about too.
100%, yeah, 100% of that. I mean, one thing also that is also very important for us is, as you were saying, like because every single site had their different type of devices, different type of printers, and it was very easy to actually migrate those printers into Printalogic and trying to maintain a much more sort of a centralized approach to them. So we run 3 different sort of IT hubs, one in America, one in Europe, one in APAC. So it was as easy as sort of just deploy those ones through all these hubs and then actually getting all those technicians to sort of manage them sort of remotely. And it just would be working fine.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. The agnostic approach that we have with regards to it doesn't matter to us what type of hardware you have, what vendor or model of printers you have. Pretty much, it gives you the flexibility as an IT staff to be able to deploy whatever printers you want to be able to handle hardware refreshes or things like that seamlessly, because you're going to know that we're going to work with whatever model of printer you're going to bring in, and we're going to make the driver deployment really easy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, across the board, obviously, because different sites are different sort of a life cycle. So I got printers from 7 years ago to pretty much almost brand new printers from all different top of brands you can think of, and all of them, I'd probably say about 95, 98% of our printers actually work in Printalogic. The ones that don't work is because they're very just they don't want to actually work with the printer service anyway. So it was very sort of easy to get, and also because probably what just a lot of companies are doing too is actually trying to just do more with less. So one of the things actually was very easy for us to do with Printalogic, you're actually setting up the profiles to actually get anywhere to be duplex sort of a print, black and white, and basically just go as a matter of turn just through a click, and that's it. And even if those printers that have been deployed, because that's one of the questions I asked the Printalogic team at one point, the next time that sort of printer sort of refreshes back to the platform, sort of just changes then the configurations to all those devices. So we didn't need to actually go device by device and change the profile of the printers to make sure it changed actually the way we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the Printalogic agent, right? So whatever you do as an admin, whether it's drivers or IP addresses and things like that, any change you make will get automatically pulled down, and oftentimes customers might do like a network migration on the weekend, right? So if I'm an end user, I leave work on Friday afternoon, the network team and the server team do their changes on the weekend. When I come back into the office on Monday morning, I just connect and bang, that's it. Everything's done. Everything gets updated straight away, right? So that makes it nice and easy. The other thing too, in relation to Felipe's environment, like he's got sites all around the world, right? So again, like it's cloud hosted, but where that repository sits, it doesn't really matter too much because it's just that. Like think of it as a management portal, right? So the print traffic always stays local, and just that agent is connecting up to the SaaS portal. So in Felipe's case, he could be in Sydney, he could be in Mexico. It really doesn't matter, right? Because that Printlogic agent constantly checks in. And as you mentioned with the other guys, like if he did lose internet connection in one of his sites, then he can still print, right? That's one of the robust things about Printlogic is again you don't get that level of help desk ticket as it comes through.
Yeah, yeah, and what you're saying, Peter, is actually absolutely just one of the things I was actually quite afraid, like, oh, what's going to happen? How's going to be the latency or the experience for users which are in Mexico or in Brazil? But no, as you're saying, but everything actually, I think you actually use these words, everything actually work at the LAN level. So doesn't really matter if you're offline, the printer still actually working. What you actually do need from the internet sort of platform actually is the configuration and management. But that again, does actually could actually work even actually if it's interrupted from time to time.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Felipe, for spending some time with us and sharing some information about your environment and your experiences with our solution. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for inviting me, Dennis and Pierre as well.
Well, great. We really appreciate both of you sharing how things are working in your environment and how you discovered our solution and all of the wonderful things that it solves for you. But just a little bit of more information before we wrap this up. Just if you were to talk to our customer base, 97% of our customers are likely to recommend Printalogic, and you can hear from our panel today that they definitely are a part of that as well. You're gonna find that you're gonna reduce a lot of the time you spend on printing, and you're gonna see a really quick ROI with our solution as well.
Yeah, and these are just some of the badges we've got in the G2, right? So for those that don't know what G2 is, that's basically just a community led by customer reviews and things like that. So people similar to Dennis and Tony nominating and say, hey, this is how we see Printalogic in the world that we live, right? So we're constantly performing really well in those G2 sectors. And also other platforms too, places like Reddit, for example. If you jump on Reddit and you want to Google Printalogic and get customer reviews, we've got a bunch of customer reviews and people saying how great the product is as well.
And I mentioned I'd circle back and talk a little bit about our customer base. We work with a lot of customers in a lot of different industries and a lot of different sizes. We have a lot of Fortune 100 customers that use our solution. We have a lot of customers with less than 10 printers that use our solution. And we're going to be across a lot of different industries. We're very strong in the healthcare vertical. We work a lot with governments. And then as you can see, we work with a lot of other companies as well. So I think our largest customer has more than 100,000 printers in their environment, and we have customers all the way down to a single printer. So, and as you can see, we work with quite a few different people in the APAC region. We have a lot of customers in both government. We work with a lot of the different states there in Australia and a lot of different governments throughout APAC, and then also work with a lot of healthcare and other organizations as well. So when you're ready to talk to us, we're very excited to potentially work with you on a proof of concept so you can start the same journey that our friends here did as well today.
Excellent. So, yeah, thanks. Just want to say a big thank you to Dennis and Tony for jumping in and just giving that feedback, guys. We really appreciate it. And this sort of the customer feedback we love to hear, like as sort of Dennis mentioned, like he doesn't have to talk to Printologic, like maybe once a year we'll have a chat. How's everything going? It's a pretty short conversation. Everything's great, and like I said, and Tony's on that similar tangent as well. So, as John mentioned, that proof of concept, like it's free, as we've mentioned, like you get to test the product for free, right? There's, you don't spin up infrastructure, there's no servers. And that's one of the big strengths of Printologic, right? You can, as the guys mentioned, you just do a like-for-like comparison, right? So if you've got some print issues and you want to get them fixed, you've heard what the guys said, myself and John and the larger team here in APAC, we'd love to have a conversation with you. All right, and with that, I'll hand it across to Janine.
Thanks again, Pete and John. And of course, a huge thanks to our customers, Tomago Aluminium, TNA Solutions, and Madill Motor Group. We love getting feedback from our customers, and having them on a panel like today's gives us a chance to share their stories and hopefully support you in your journey. Just to recap, we do have some more information in the form of guides and videos in the attachments, and also a link to get you started on your journey. The trial is free for 30 days, as Pete and John highlighted, and anyone who signs up on the link will get a personalized demo. Thank you again for listening in, and we hope to support you in the future. Thank you.